On February 24th, 2022, the world stood still as Russian forces launched their long-anticipated assault across Ukraine's borders. The Kremlin had calculated a swift conquest, predicting that Kyiv would fall in under 72 hours. But reality unfolded very differently. What was meant to be a lightning-fast campaign quickly turned into a grinding, blood-soaked stalemate. Hampered by logistical failures and overwhelmed by the fierce resistance of Ukrainian defenders, Russia's advance slowed to a crawl. In mere weeks, the conflict spiraled into one of the most devastating military engagements on European soil since World War II. As of 2025, the toll is staggering. Nearly 1 million casualties. The once serene eastern countryside of Ukraine, dotted with lush green fields and dense forests, has been transformed into a broken land of shattered earth and deep craters. Its resemblance to the war-scarred landscapes of the First World War is haunting. Cities like Mariupol and Bakhmut have become graveyards of concrete and steel, echoing the savagery of Stalingrad's urban warfare over 8 decades ago. This war, more than any before it, is being lived and relived in real time. Every moment is captured. Every skirmish, drone strike, and close-range battle is broadcast online. Gone are the days of newspaper headlines vaguely summarizing the movements of armies. Now, we see it, soldiers engaging in hand-to-hand combat, drones hovering silently before dropping death from above, and wounded fighters raising their arms in surrender, only to be targeted again. The buzz of small propellers above is no longer just a sound, it's a source of trauma, a new kind of PTSD. Despite its modern methods, war remains unchanged at its core. It's never about who is right, only who survives. And like all wars, this one has birthed its own collection of strange, chilling tales, shared in whispers by those who live through them. As soldiers gather in quiet moments between battles, they begin to speak of things that cannot be explained. Paranormal things. This is one such story. Before the full-scale invasion of 2022, the conflict in Ukraine had already begun in 2014. Amidst the revolution of dignity, as Ukraine's government reeled from internal upheaval, Russia seized Crimea, claiming to protect the ethnic Russian population there. But it wasn't just a cultural play. Crimea's location gave Moscow control of a key naval stronghold along the Black Sea, a launchpad for influence in the region. Following the annexation, pro-Russian separatists across eastern and southern Ukraine began rising up. Ukraine's armed forces were drawn into fierce confrontations, while foreign private military contractors, often working undercover, were brought in to counter what many believed were covert Russian special operations. One of those contractors, whom we'll refer to as Castro, reached out to share his experiences, including encounters that go far beyond conventional warfare. Here's what he told me. I spent over 4 years working as a private security contractor with a major US-based defense firm. While the company is mostly known for aerospace defense, it runs shadow operations through its lesser-known private forces, often involved in high-risk missions. Though we were technically labeled as a security, we weren't just defensive. We were often sent in to neutralize threats proactively. When Crimea was invaded in 2014, I had just wrapped up a domestic contract when I got word that I was heading to Ukraine. Intelligence suggested Russia was using contractors and unmarked soldiers to carry out objectives in Crimea. A certain Western-backed entity, not wanting to engage openly, hired us to counter these operations. Within days, I landed in Ukraine and was sent straight to the border of Crimea for deployment. At the time, Ukraine's military was undertrained, poorly equipped, and morale was low, but those who stayed were brave and resilient. They welcomed our help, though it was clear we'd be taking the lead in most operations. That I won't get into the usual battlefield stuff. You've read it before. What I want to share are the things that didn't make sense, the things that stayed with us long after the shooting stopped. Castro recounts a tale he heard from a close friend, a former Marine they called Maps, due to his uncanny ability to read terrain. Maps was in a command and control role, stationed near the front point one day, while reviewing outdated Russian maps, printed in 1985. By the looks of them, a radio call came in. Command, this is Patrol 62, taking heavy fire along the northern route. Cover our wounded. Return fire. Platoon 62 was composed of 2 squads, 24 men total. Their mission, routine patrol and evacuation. The radio message came at 2:45 p.m. 7 minutes later. Another call. One of our trucks is down. Hit by an explosive. We're dismounting and moving on foot. All injured are mobile for now. Command scrambled to mobilize reinforcements, but everyone was either too far or already under fire. Then, radio silence. Hours passed. Finally, at 5:09 p.m., a chilling message. We're all wounded, some dead. We need medevac immediately. A quick reaction force was assembled and arrived at the site by 6 p.m., but it was too late. Every soldier, all 24, was dead. Their bodies were scattered across the area. A tragic, crushing loss. But here's where things get strange. Local villagers, who'd been hiding nearby, later told the team that the battle had ended by 4 p.m., long before that final medevac call was received. According to them, the fighting lasted about an hour, and afterward, they went out to help. Several soldiers were alive, but bleeding heavily. The villagers attempted to assist, but left shortly after. Fearing the enemy might return, they insisted that by the time they left, around 4:20 p.m., all the men had died. So, who sent the radio call at 5:09 p.m.? The comms were mostly destroyed. And yet, a clear transmission came in, long after everyone was supposedly dead. Was it a survivor? Or something else? Castro shares another event, one he was present for, though not directly involved in. His unit, part of a group called Task Force Blitz, was advancing through a rural area. Their maps were outdated, GPS unreliable due to weather. So when they spotted a village that wasn't on the maps, about 40 buildings in total, they decided to search it. 2 squads of 10 dismounted, with Ukrainian interpreters in tow. The village seemed untouched. No signs of battle. Yet, dead civilians lay in some homes. It was eerie. During the final sweep, the second squad emerged from an apartment block, carrying 2 starved children and a dog. The kids were found hiding in a closet under blankets. But what happened just before their discovery still haunts the squad members. As they approached the apartment door, it was clearly locked. They prepared to breach using a Halligan bar. But before they could pry it open, the door clicked and slowly swung wide on its own. Then they heard it, a whisper. Female. Ukrainian. None of them understood what was said, but all 3 confirmed they heard it clearly. Inside, they found the children. And down the hallway, a woman, dead for days, perhaps a week. Evidence suggested she'd been brutally assaulted. Later investigations revealed that another unit had passed through the village 5 days earlier, but they found no children, no woman. It was quietly confirmed that some soldiers in that unit were later accused of war crimes, including against women and children. The soldiers who found the children believe, deeply, that the woman's spirit stayed behind to protect her kids. Maybe she opened the door herself. Maybe it was her whisper that led them in. Only the dog didn't make it. The children survived. Fast forward to 2022. The full-scale invasion is underway, and volunteers from around the world have joined Ukraine's cause. These foreign fighters, part of the International Legion, came with one mission: stop the Russian advance. One anonymous fighter shared his unsettling encounter. We were holed up in a wrecked house near Luhansk. Everything around us was destroyed. Fires burned nonstop. The snow was knee-deep. The only bodies we saw were of the dead, both civilian and enemy. One night, I was on watch. Earlier, I'd seen 2 Russian scouts killed near our position. Their bodies were mangled, one missing his head, the other torn apart, possibly by stray dogs. As I scanned the darkness through my night vision, I saw something rise from their corpses. 2 black, formless shadows drifted silently down the road. I thought I was hallucinating. NVGs can mess with your mind. But then, the guy watching with me, a serious, no-nonsense medic, whispered, "Do you see that?" I said yes. I asked if I should shoot. He said, "No, whatever it is, it's too late for that. Let them be." We watched as the shadows returned and sank back into the bodies. The next night, he took watch again, this time from a different vantage point. Looking down a narrow alley with his thermal scope, he spotted a figure. He looked like a Russian soldier, full gear, weapon raised, watching me. But he was white-hot on thermal, colder than the snow around him. No body heat, no breath visible. I thought about firing, but something held me back. Eventually, I looked away, and when I looked back, he was gone. Castro once said something that stuck with me. War generates energy, a terrifying kind. Gunfire, explosions, pain, and death, it leaves behind a residue. Like friction creates heat, war feeds something else, something unseen. Whether these are ghost stories, psychological breakdowns, or a deeper truth we haven't yet grasped, they stick with the men who've lived through them. Eventually, this war, like all others, will end. The cities will rebuild. Families will try to move on. But the dead? That's another question. And for the living, especially those who saw something they can't explain,